Hey guys, tonight we descend into the folds of a story that slips like damp parchment beneath your fingertips, fragile, veined, and absolutely cursed. You find yourself on the edge of a village where things no longer die quite right. The grass grows backwards. The birds sing someone else's childhood songs, and the shadows. Some of them never come back. And the worst part, you're already there. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Also, post your location and local time. I'd love to know where my listeners are whispering from tonight. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The field slopes gently, painted in the bruised colors of twilight, deep indigo, whisper gray, old blood. You feel the last bit of sunlight hesitate behind your back, reluctant to follow you. It happened just past the stream, under the crooked sycamore tree. The boy, maybe 10 years old, was laughing something between innocence and mania. The game was simple: hop between stones before the shadows catch you. Only this time, they did. 1 second, he's skipping. The next, there's only a pair of shoes. And the shadow just ... lingering there, flattened on the grass like a stain that won't lift. You step closer, too close, and the air tastes like bitten copper. The shadow doesn't shift with the wind, doesn't fade. It remembers shape but no longer knows its owner. Worse, it seems to move just a second too late, as if reluctant to be seen behaving alone. You blink, the shadow blinks back. By the time the search party gathers, torches in hand, hope already retreating, you're not entirely sure the boy was real. His mother screams, the kind of scream that folds into itself, small and sharp and eternal. You find yourself whispering his name ... but it won't come. Your tongue feels rewritten. The next morning, they find a trail of prints leading toward the orchard, pressed too deep, too wide for a child's stride. The last print is missing its heel, as if whoever walked it stopped mid-step ... or stepped out of something entirely, and beneath the sycamore. Nothing, no soil disturbed, no signs of struggle. Just an unnatural stillness, as if even the insects refuse to narrate. The villagers say he must have drowned, wandered off, been taken by wolves. They whisper things, frantic and fractured. But the tree leans lower now, as if listening. One old man, half blind and always drunk, mutters, "It took the boy's shadow, didn't it?" That's how it starts. No one answers him. But you notice, for the first time, that his cane casts no shadow either. That night, in your room, the candle flickers wrong. The flame leans toward you, not from breeze but curiosity. And somewhere far outside, from beneath the earth or behind the sky, you hear it, the faintest rustle, like a page turning itself. And you think of the boy's name again. Only this time, you don't just forget it, you remember something else in its place. A word that shouldn't belong to you. A sound is smooth, too wet, like ink still drying. You speak it aloud, just once. And something on the other side hears. He returns 3 days later. Not through the forest, not by the road. No carriage, no horse, no rescue. Just a creak of the gate at dawn, and there he stands, mudless, bloodless, breathless. He wears the same clothes he vanished in, and now they seem more like a costume of what he was. The shirt has no creases, the hem is damp, but there's no dew. His hands are clean in the wrong way. Not scrubbed - empty ... and his shadow is gone. You don't notice it at first. He moves normally enough. His hair is mussed, his face pale. When he blinks, wait. No, that's the thing, he doesn't blink. He stands there while the village gathers in waves, half disbelief, half dread. His mother runs to him, embraces him, and he doesn't return it. His arms hang limp at his sides, hands half curled, like waiting for a command. His eyes don't cry, they don't even register. And that's when someone gasps, he's not casting. The morning light is strong, long shadows pull behind every form, every rock and tool and trembling hand. All but one, the boy is as flat as if pasted onto the world. A perfect cutout, a marionette whose strings remain inside his skin. The space behind him is utterly unclaimed. Light passes through him like a thought. No one wants to say it, no one wants to notice, but you do, and the boy notices you noticing. His eyes finally move just slightly, and for one terrible second, you think he's smiling, but it's not a smile. It's a misunderstanding of one. That night, the village erupts into celebration, not joy or relief. They feast, they drink, they refuse to look too closely at their returned miracle. Even his mother forgets to ask him where he went, because deep down, they know the boy that left hasn't come back. At the edge of the firelight, he sits perfectly still, sipping from a cup that doesn't steam. A dog growls near him, then whimpers and backs away without turning. The dog casts a shadow, the boy still does not. And then the other children, always the innocent, always the fools, begin mimicking him. They sit the same way, speak slower, they blink less. One dares to walk through the torchlight in a circle, arms out. "Look," she says, "I'm like him." Her shadow vanishes for just a moment. No one else sees it, but you do. And you remember the black psalm of Vorther. Those who mock the form of the hollow will become the vessel of its echo. You go home early, heart brittle as frost. In your hallway, your own shadow drags just a fraction behind you now. Like it's reluctant, or maybe rehearsing. You lock the doors, bolt the windows. You speak a prayer you only half believe. And when you glance at the mirror just once, you don't see yourself. You see him, not the boy, the thing wearing him. The not boy watches from the glass, smiling with teeth too careful. He waves slowly. Behind him, you see your own room. From a different angle, a deeper one. Like he's already inside, and when you turn to check, he's not there. But the mirror is cracked, and the boy still doesn't blink. The village council meets beneath the chapel, as they always do when fear begins to smell like sweat. Dust motes drift like disturbed spirits between beams of half-light. You're not supposed to be here, of course, but then again, they've stopped locking the door, perhaps assuming no one wants to listen anymore. You listen anyway. The priest, whose voice once rang like iron bells, speaks now only in mutterings clipped, cracked, stained with dread. The well, he says, has begun to sing again. No one responds. You already know what he means. You heard it 2 nights ago, a low resonance. Like someone humming through water, notes that shouldn't fit in human scale, yet coil in the ear with terrible elegance. It used to sing when they died, the priest adds, eyes clouded, when the old plague swept through Harrowgrave, before the first drowning. Before the well was sealed with 13 stones and 13 names. Another man coughs, his shadow jerks to late, then snaps back into place. No one comments. One of the elders suggests blessing the water again. Another suggests salt. The priest scoffs. The well isn't cursed, he whispers, it remembers. And worse, it's thirsty. You recall what the Black Psalm of Vorther says, that which remembers must eventually speak. And that which speaks will never forget your name when they emerge. None of them notice you behind the pew, but one of them leaves a note tucked into the hymn book. It's watching us through the water. Don't drink, don't speak, don't sing. That night, you dream of the well, not the real one, not quite. This one spirals downward forever, and the stones have eyes. You hear laughter from below, echoing as if it's older than laughter itself. You awaken with blood on your pillow and a song on your tongue, not yours. Your mouth doesn't close quite right for the next hour. When you venture outside, the sky looks wrong. The clouds move too slowly, the crows fly backward. And the boy still blinkless stands at the center of the square, staring into the well. The villagers watch him from windows, from curtains, from behind cracked doors, but none stop him. Not even when he lowers a bucket and brings up not water but something else, a page, pale, damp, edgeless. When he unfurls it in the air, The page doesn't flap or curl, it hangs like skin. And though no one speaks, you swear you hear it. A whisper, just below thought, it says your name. The children gather around him now, circling like moths that forgot how to burn. He teaches them games without rules, rhymes without ends. One girl draws something on the ground, a sigil maybe, or a letter from a language that once devoured its own scribes. When she finishes, her teeth fall out. She laughs. She has too many new ones underneath. The well begins to steam, not from heat, from intent. The air smells like copper hymns and old parchment. Something beneath the ground has stirred, not waking, waiting, and in the church. The priest is found kneeling before the altar, dead eyes locked on the ceiling where a single word is written in soot. Again, you try to tell yourself the village has always had its quirks. The fog never quite lifts, the birds never quite sing, but it's getting harder to believe in coincidence when the shadows now whisper just behind your ears. You test it. You turn quickly at dusk. Back turned to the well, but there it is again. That tickling hiss, like parchment scraped across raw bone. You catch only the tail end. Still hungry, and when you shout to no one in particular, who are you? Your echo does not return. Instead, something else does. Mine, says a voice that is not yours, and not near. You flee to the library, the only place in Harrowgrave where things stay quiet for now. The tomes here don't whisper. They mutter in bindings made from split birch and sealed in wax. Your fingers brush the shelves like a dowser's rod. You're looking for anything that smells like forgotten answers. You find it in the restricted aisle, a thin volume with no spine title. Its cover stitched shut. You don't open it, you bleed it. Just a prick of your finger along the edge, and it peels open like a wound delighted to remember how, inside, calligraphic madness. Glyphs that twist as you look at them. You blink once, and one of them becomes your birth date. You blink again, and it becomes your name misspelled but with intention. The book contains a phrase attributed to the second archivist of Thene, a figure erased from most records. The wells are not mouths, they are ears. What you whisper down, they pass along, but only the brave or the broken listen to what returns. There is more. When the song begins, count your ribs. You'll have one less. You close the book. It closes wet that night. You notice the village clock tower ticks backwards. No one comments. The children don't blink anymore. They hum in perfect thirds. One child, Lise, begins tracing inverted constellations in the soil. She says their instructions. When you ask who gave them to her, she says, the girl in the well. She wears a necklace of hair. Lise adds cheerfully, she wants me to meet her when it rains. The well hasn't known water in 3 seasons. But that night, the clouds hang low like mourning veils, and the first drops fall in perfect hexagrams. You dream again. You are beneath the village. Not in tunnels, but within them, veins carved by old thirst, pulsing with things that learn to wait. The stones here aren't dead. They murmur psalms in a language so old it predates timekeeping. Your skin itches. It's not yours anymore. When you wake, your nails are black. Your tongue tastes of salt and ink. On your ceiling, scrawled in the same soot as the priest's chapel, one word, in looping child hand, soon. You find the townsfolk preparing a ritual, old rites. Forgotten ones. They wear masks carved from driftwood and mutter hymns into empty jars. Then they seal the jars with wax and lower them down the well. You ask why. The mayor says, we're apologizing. For what? He doesn't answer. Only hands you a mask and says, you will remember when the water sings your lullaby. You don't wear the mask. You hide it. Burn it. The next morning, another sits on your windowsill. Its mouth is open wider, and you could swear it's smiling. You tell yourself it's only superstition, that ancient villagers in their fog-choked solitude clung to rituals like a child clings to a threadbare doll. But when you touch the second mask, your breath shortens as if something had been holding it for you and just let go. It's heavier than it looks, to warm, and carved into the inside, where no one should see. are the same 5 notches etched into your collarbone during last week's dream. You run your fingers across them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The well hasn't stopped humming. It began the moment the first jar was dropped, the song slowly rising like a spine pressed against parchment. A low, wordless tremor of sound, like an aching cello strung with sinew. It vibrates through stone. You hear it when your spoon touches the bowl. When you blink, when you breathe, and then Lise vanishes. They say she wandered into the woods, but you saw the footprints bare, small, and heading toward the well. Not away, you lower a mirror into the shaft, suspended by thread. It returns with something smeared across its surface. Not reflection, not image, something like static in viscous form. You wipe it with your sleeve, and the cloth comes away stiff as if aged by years. In the reflection, the well behind you is no longer dry, it ripples. They hold a wake for Elise with no body instead. Her father places her rib in a tangled knot of blue velvet on the altar. The ribbon writhes for a moment, then falls still. The town doesn't flinch. You begin to feel as if this has happened before. That each villager is simply remembering, not reacting. As if grief here is rote performance. You find another child, Coral, sitting on your doorstep. He says nothing at first, then he says, "She's not gone." You kneel. He whispers, "She's learning the song. It's like a spine." You only get to hear it after yours is gone. You laugh weakly, but his eyes remain flat, glassy. He places something in your hand, a tooth, milk white, still wet. "I took it before she left," he says. She said she'd need it back. That night, you do not sleep. You spend the hours tracing every notch and crevice of the town's remaining architecture. Everything feels subtly off. The doors seem one-hinged too many, the windows too wide, as if shaped for something broader-shouldered, broader-eyed. You pass the old apothecaries, and through the dusty pane, you see bottles rattling gently in rhythm with the well's hum inside. A book rests open on the counter, pages turned by no hand. You lean closer. It's the same script from the stitched volume. But this time, it rearranges even as you stare. You no longer blink. You don't dare, and then you see the notation. Entry 5, the drowned lullaby best sung with the jaw unhinged. A woodcut sketch depicts a figure bending backward, mouth yawning to wide, throat black with something moving inside. You slam the book shut. When you look up, your reflection in the glass does not move with you. Your breath clouds the window. It does not. You run your hands across your ribs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. You count them again. Fingers fumbling like broken wings against your skin. 1, 2, 3, 4, still 4. The 5th rib's absence is not a wound, not a gap, but a hollow absence, as though it was never yours to keep. The well's hum no longer stops at your ears. Now it curls into your bones, echoing from marrow like a remembered scream. You try to speak the names of those who drowned, but your throat constricts as though protecting you or censoring you. You descend into the lower hamlet. Old houses gutted by time lean like dying beasts. Ivy swarms their walls like veins that forgot their blood. No one lives here, but someone is home. You hear a lullaby, low, cracked, sung from beneath the floorboards of a chapel that should have collapsed long ago. You step inside, pews curve the wrong direction, facing a pulpit now replaced by a gaping shaft, its edges lined with the blackened remnants of candles. The wax bears fingerprints, small, child-sized. One figure sits in the front row, hunched and still, not a person, a bundle. Ragdoll stitched from funeral clothes, its face a patchwork of masked fragments. Your breath catches it. Where's her ribbon, Lise? You do not move closer. You simply wait. The doll twitches, then speaks. Her teeth are growing back. Its voice is wrong to clear, too old, like parchment rubbed smooth by centuries of reading. They grow in backward. When you hear the whole song, you feel the air shift. Behind you, the chapel doors groan and shut, locked. You are now in the song. The melody rises not from throat or mouth, but from beneath your feet. It travels through floorboards, dances along nails and rotted beams, humming in sympathetic pain. You feel it in your gums. They itch, press, push, blood. The doll nods. She's learning to eat echoes now. They say she started with the birds. You recall the silence that fell this morning. No crows, no morning coos, no wind, just listening. You reach for your satchel. The stitched book is still inside. Now warm, pulsing faintly, you open it. The next page was not there before. Entry 6. Communion of the Hollow-Mouthed. A depiction in inkless shadow shows villagers kneeling around the well, jaws removed, placed reverently like sacramental bread. A priest with no tongue lifts a child above the water. The caption reads, "She must swallow the silence first." Suddenly, it becomes clear. The lullaby is not a song, it's a summons. And the children were not taken. They were listening for instructions. You try to speak, to cry, to name something solid. Instead, a phrase tumbles from your mouthwet, wrong. And older than breath, the doll grins. The ribbon falls away underneath, no mouth. Just teeth in every direction. You run. The chapel vomits you out into the dusk. The hum trails you like a cloak soaked in oil. You do not look back. Because now, even your shadow stares too long. And when you pass a shattered mirror on the road, you see 5 ribs again. But one is not yours. It pulses like it's waiting for a name. And you already know whose. The ground breathes. You pretend it doesn't. You pretend the moss that shifts underfoot is merely soft. Not complicit, but the tremor in your solace betrays it. Harrowgrave soil listens and it remembers the weight of those who beg not to sink. The path to the orchard crooks like a broken finger. Every tree there is wrong, too gnarled, to slant it toward the well as though drawn to its quiet promises. Their fruit hangs low but bruised before ripening, skin like blistered parchment. You see initials carved into the bark of one. Yours. You don't remember ever being here. You hear a giggle, not behind you, beneath. The orchard's roots are hollow, and something is playing beneath them. You kneel, place your palm flat. The response is immediate taps, rhythmic and steady, shave and a haircut. But there's no bits, just scratching, something using bones to write on stone. You back away, only to step into something soft. A doll again, this time hung from the tree with a red ribbon choking its neck. No face, just a slit where the mouth should be, whispering nothing you can hear. But you feel it behind your teeth, again. Your gums throb, your tongue pulses. You know this isn't pain, it's growth. You pull the book from your satchel, the stitched skin size in your hand. You open to the next page, already written. Entry 7, Orchard of the Voiceless. There's an illustration in soot. Children feeding apples to a woman made entirely of stitched-together throats. Her eyes are the pits from the fruit. The scrawled line beneath reads, "To taste the sermon, give first your fruit." You spit to the side, blood again. You knew it would be. From the orchard, a figure steps forward. You recognize the gait lame on the left, the result of a broken leg in childhood. Yours. But the face is wrong. Your face, but peeled and stitched, its smile too wide, eyes too calm. You ask who they are, they answer in your voice. I am what grows when the song roots deep. They reach for you, you do not run this time. Because the wine finally returning carries the well's voice to your ears, and it soothes. You understand now, the drowned were not lost. They were planted. The orchard is merely what blooms when you water with memory and leave the mouths open. The copy of you nods once, then disappears peeling back into the earth, roots and all. You glance again at the tree where the doll hung. Now there's just a rope, no doll. But a single child's tooth swings at the end, tied with red ribbon. You know whose it is, because it's yours. And yet ... it's not missing from your mouth. Not yet. But your tongue is starting to itch. The book pulses in your hands again. Time to turn the page. There's no gate around the church. Only salt, not in lines, but words You notice them etched into the gravel sigils, slashed like cuneiform into bone dust. You don't step over them. You already know they're broken. The air here doesn't move. It hangs like a curtain, heavy and perfumed with rot-cloaked incense. The Church of Harrowgrave has no steeple, no bell, just a hole in the roof and a choir of flies where the rafters used to be. Hey guys, tonight we know that was a memory, not yours. You glance toward the well. It still sings, but only on the inhale. Inside, the pews are arranged in concentric rings, all facing inward toward the pulpit, a stone slab flecked with teeth. Not set in, no, embedded. Like someone chewed their final sermon through the altar's surface. And in the front row, a dress empty, children's size, pale blue. Ribbons frayed and blood-stained, not freshly, a crust. You know that texture. You remember scrubbing it from your sleeves when you thought the bruises were your fault. The dress begins to twitch, no body, but the shape of breath, filling sleeves. Rising, sitting, watching, you try not to look at the stained glass. It's cracked but not shattered. The images have changed. The saints now have their mouths sewn shut, except one, its jaw dislocated, stretching open wider and wider, its painted eyes rolled up, a tongue spilling from its mouth and spiraling across the window like a scroll. You hear that name again. Vorthur, the Black Psalm of Vorthur. You saw it scribbled beneath the pulpit in dried ink. Ink that flakes when you touch it, ink that smells like iron. You scrape some away and find more writing underneath. Speak the silence into song. You feel your throat flex, not a cough, a call. But something interrupts. The pulpit shifts. It breathes. No one is behind it. No visible hinges. Just a slow inward collapse like a lung being pulled inside out. Then a shadow rises, not shaped like a person. Not even a parody of one. It's made of robes, just robes, stitched together from clerical vestments, cassock and surplice and funeral shroud. They rustle like dry leaves soaked in bile. Inside the robes, no face, only hands, hundreds, pressed together, overlapping, interlaced like bricks in a wall. Some reach out, most which in unison, as if listening. The homily begins, no words, just gestures, hands that sign a sermon in the secret tongue of the drowned. The translation happens in your spine. You understand the gestures. Not in language, in sensation, each phrase in a heat. A pulling behind the eyes, your knees buckle before the benediction finish. Because the final gesture is a clenched fist. And the hands are yours, all of them. You step back. The stained glass prophet now stares down with your face. Mouth wide, a scroll unfurling from it. Red, wet ... written in a script you recognize from your dreams but can't replicate when awake. You look again. The scroll isn't in the window anymore. It's at your feet. You never touched it. But your palms itch, wet. You lift them, flesh carved into letters. Lines of script down every finger. Your lifeline now bleeds in verse. The congregation is gone. The pews are empty again. But the dress remains, and now it stands. It begins to walk toward the altar, arms outstretched. A child's laugh echoes through the rafters. You realize it's coming from you. You try to swallow the laugh. It isn't yours. It claws up your throat like a spider escaping floodwaters, skittering between your teeth and spilling into the vaulted air of the church. It echoes, then harmonizes. Other voices join. Some high and lilting, others gargled, wet with soil. A child's giggle layered beneath an elder's wheeze. The choir of Harrowgrave returned to its rotten liturgy. You feel them gathering behind you, though you don't dare look. The dress stops before the altar, empty sleeves raised. The laughter dies. A silence stretches wide enough to hide the sky. Then, a voice, not a child's, not yours. Not even speech, just the shape of speaking. Like language learned backward, each word cracking like a bone dislocated before its socket knew purpose. From the shadows of the pulpit, a hand reaches up, singular, wet, aged, but strong. Nails blackened to rot, and in its grasp, book. The blood scroll, no blood scroll, Not the one you've sought. Not yet. This one is bound in hair, long, pale, still growing. Pages that stick to the fingers when turned. The child's dress kneels to receive it. The book floats. You wonder if there's still gravity here, or if the rules have rotted through like everything else. As the pages fall open, wind screams through the cracked windows, but nothing moves, not the book, not the dress, not even the dust motes thickening in the air like ash. You see what's written, your name spelled correctly. Every page bears it, repeated in spirals, mirrored and bleeding into itself, forming glyphs that your stomach churns at trying to read. You try to back away. You're not standing, you're kneeling. Hands flat on the floor, face pressed to stone. When did you prostrate yourself? The pews are filled now, you can feel their gazes. Not faces, gazes, like insect antennae brushing your skin in slow, gnawing paths. The dress turns to you. It doesn't walk, just rotates without bending, like a marionette spun on an invisible wire. A child's face hangs where a head might be, sewn in place. The eyes stitched shut, but the lips part. You expect to hear your name. Instead, it sings, just a hum, no words. But behind your eyes, the meaning bleeds in. It's a lullaby from the Black Psalm of Vorthur, the one you weren't supposed to read. The one written on tongues, not parchment. The one scribes had to sing into flesh before the body burned. You know the next line before it happens. Your breath anticipates it. The tune was hummed into your cradle. Your mother hummed it before she drowned. You saw her mouth move. You thought it was a dream. It wasn't. The pulpit splits again. Hands pour from the walls, not reaching for you offering. Each holds something different, a jawbone, a candle burning with black saliva, a spool of gut thread. A child's tooth still wet at the root, a blindfold that weeps salt. They want you to choose one relic to carry forward, one curse to wear. You reach because the story demands it. Because someone has to remember, because the scroll won't write itself. You choose the blindfold. It wraps itself around your eyes. It fits, it knows the curve of your skull. The salt burns, but your vision sharpens. Not in light and echo, you see through noise now. The laughter has meaning, the silence has shape. And the well, you hear it again, it's humming the same lullaby. And somewhere beneath the village, the drowned are swaying in time with it. One turns toward you and smiles. The blindfold does not block vision, it replaces it. Sound becomes silhouette, echo becomes edge, and every footstep you take resounds with the crispness of a knife drawn across vellum. You hear the altar breathe in with the rustle of pages, out with the sigh of some ancient ink drying beneath skin. The child in the bloodless dress has disappeared. No, she has stepped into the book. The pages close. You stand alone. Or rather, you kneel in an emptiness that doesn't permit standing. Something presses on your shoulders, not weight, but expectation. Now you will listen, says no one, but everyone. It's spoken from every pew, from each pane of broken stained glass, from the mouths of dust-ridden cherubs carved into the roof beams. The church is a throat, and you're the breath caught in it. The floor shifts, stone gives way to soil. Grave loam seeps up through the cracks in the nave. You recognize the scent. The village graveyard soil where no headstones remain, and all names have been filed down by acid rain and tender forgetfulness. You crawl toward the exit. Each inch forward whispers a year back. You can hear the decades pass beneath your hands. Children born. Harvests failed. Weddings, floods, hangings. The church swelled with history. Their own kind. You reach the door. Its wood pulses. As if it once belonged to something that remembered your touch. You open it. Outside is not outside. There is no sky, only a ceiling of charred pages fluttering like crows. The village is there but folded, inverted, reflected in shallow ink pools where windows once glowed. And the well, now it sings, a rich alto, melancholy, choral, as though the drowned have formed their own choir, waiting for a conductor. Waiting for you because, of course, you're wearing the blindfold now. and those who wear it cannot hear the song without being part of it. You're drawn to the well. With every step, your name changes. Not phonetically, not visibly, but conceptually. You feel parts of yourself burn away and rewrite. You used to hate the smell of pine. Now it comforts you. You were once afraid of drowning. Now you wonder if the water would remember your shape better than your skin does. You reach the lip of the well. It's not stone, it's bone. Stacked vertebrae forming a spiral. Like a throat descending into memory. You speak your name. No. Instead, a different voice returns. It says, "She is waiting." You know who it means. The voice that sang skyward. The one who cracked the heavens. The prophet. You were told she died centuries ago, devoured by her followers. Her tongue passed like a chalice among them, but you know better now. The scroll lies. Truth seeps between its lines like blood through bandage. And now, so do you. A ladder descends from the lip of the well. Each rung whispers, not loudly, but enough. They say things like, "Last time, you missed the third rung." The water is warmer now. She's remembering your face. You climb each step and writes part of you. First, your fear of the dark. Then, your sense of days. Then, your middle name. By the time your foot touches the water, you've become an outline of yourself. The only part of you that remains, the memory of the lullaby, and the knowing that it isn't finished yet. The drowned are swaying again. You join them. But you do not breathe water, you sing it. The song begins with no conductor, no tempo, and yet you fall into it as though it's always belonged to you. Beneath the surface, the drowned sway not lifeless, but loyal. Their mouths do not open, but the music vibrates through them. As if their very bones are tuning forks for a forgotten key. You do not choke, you do not panic. The water accepts you because you are no longer something it needs to kill. You're part of the ritual now. One drowned boy holds out his hand. You know him, you've never met him. He was the third sacrifice. His wrists still bear the prayer beads sewn into skin meant to count the stanzas of the Black Sermon, but no one ever finished. No one ever should, except her. And you. You're not finished either. The boy's hand trembles not with fear, but with rhythm. You realize he is conducting. With every twitch of his fingers, the lullaby changes pitch, higher, louder, sharper, until you feel your teeth ache, not from pressure but from memory. Above you, the water turns reflective. You see the sky cracked again, not metaphorically, literally. Hairline fissures run like lightning through the firmament, dripping starlight that sizzles upon the village rooftops. Then something peers through. It's not a god, it's not a demon. It's a shape too vast to have intent, and it is listening. You try to stop singing. You can't. The lullaby has looped. Now, instead of drawing from your lungs, it feeds you air in return. Your ribs expand with each stanza, wider than they should. Something moves beneath your skin, shifting organs aside to make room. There is no pain, only the horrible comfort of surrender. And then the drowned vanish, not swim, not dissolve. They fold into you, one by one. Their bones echo as they compress into concept sins, songs, syllables. You are becoming the scroll. A vessel, the water thickens, ink now. It seeps into your pores, staining thought and history. You remember things that aren't yours. A woman gave birth in the chapel and the child spoke backward. A priest disappeared down the well in 1743 and returned with 7 tongues. A crow entered the sanctuary once and burst into flame. The smell lingers still, all of it yours now. The ink drips from your eyes, the well drains. You awaken lying face down on parchment. The page has been added to the folio. Your spine hums with prophecy. You're still blindfolded. But now the cloth is soaked. You don't dare remove it. Because you realize something terrible. You're no longer blindfolded against vision. You're blindfolded for others' safety. You rise to your feet, and the world greets you with silence so absolute it feels manufactured, fabricated, as if sound has been embargoed, or perhaps hoarded. Your steps are quieter now. Because they are not yours, your feet do not print. Your shadow remains behind when you leave, and the armor. You haven't noticed it yet, but you will. It waits on the altar of the emptied church. Where the congregation once knelt, handprints now smear the pews in prayers not written, but pleaded. The prophet's armor was never metal, never leather. It was constructed entirely of those who believed much. Layered palms, fused fingers, wrists clasped like chains. The breastplate is a lattice of linked hands. You step toward it, not to wear it, to finish it. One last hand must be added, yours. The armor groans with need. You reach forward. Your fingers lock into place, and the whisper begins again. The sermon starts when the silence agrees. You do not flinch. You recite the first line. And the church smiles. The church doesn't smile like a mouth. It smiles like a wound. The pews rearrange themselves behind you, not visibly. No. But when you glance again, the wood has curled inward, welcoming. Or hungry, the difference, as always here, is rhetorical. You take a step forward, your feet utterly silent, less from reverence and more because sound, it seems, has been confiscated. The altar waits, the armor pulses, you're wearing it now. You didn't put it on, it put you in. Each hand has found its place, clutched your ribs, curled around your throat, clamped gently at the nape of your neck. Your breath is not obstructed, only accounted for. The armor fits perfectly, suspiciously perfectly, as if it was crafted from you. Long before you ever arrived, there's writing carved inside the gauntlets. You read it without meaning to, speak only when the void listens. The sermon is coming. You step onto the altar. The stone cool beneath your knees, the hands tighten. Not to restrain you, to support you, you are now something between a preacher and a pyre. And the church begins to fill. They do not enter. They do not open the door. They unfold from the shadows. Parishioners dozens, hundreds returning to pews that remember the indentations of their bones. None of them breathe. Not in the way you remember breath functioning. Their chests rise and fall out of sync with silence itself. One of them turns. Its face has no features, just parchment, blank. Then a quill pierces from within, scribbling, your name. Your name, exactly as it appeared in the Book of Names 3 sections ago. You haven't spoken it aloud, and yet they have it. They own it, and with your name comes the opening stanza. The black sermon begins not with sound, but with the recollection of sound. The kind of melody that echoes from the wrong direction. Backwards, underneath, like breath beneath floorboards. You speak the first line, your voice doesn't echo, it ripples. Across their faces, over their skin, the congregation peels. Their parchment flesh loosens. Words scurry underneath it, you cannot stop. The second line is not in any known tongue, but your mouth forms it anyway. You speak in absence, a language that leaves you a little emptier each time. By the fifth stanza, the pews are bleeding. Not red, not even liquid letters spill from them. Long forgotten names, oaths never kept, entire dialects of blasphemy. The ink pools at your knees, you keep preaching. Because now the sermon is not optional, the armor compels you. Each word tightens the grip of its many hands, and you understand the truth. The prophet never preached, he was read aloud. A living scroll, his mouth only the margin. You are being read now, by the church, by the walls, by something older than both. The air crackles not with electricity, but with implication. Every time you blink, another pew is empty, not from retreat, from elevation. They ascend into in places. Negative space shimmers above the altar, like heat, but black. You say the 11th line. It tastes of dust and betrayal. And someone else finished the 12th. You freeze. No voice should echo you from within the armor. But it does, and then another. And another, until the sermon has a choir. You open your mouth, but no words come. You've reached the part of the sermon that must not be spoken aloud. Only bled, you feel the first incision. Not painful reverent, a hand from the armor turns, palm outward, and presses against your sternum. You feel your ribs ... shift, not break, realign. Like shelves being opened, and something steps through. A child with a lantern full of teeth and no eyes. They kneel beside you, their small fingers dipped in ink, and trace the sermon onto your shoulder. Not with a pen, with their tongue. They hum the same tune the well sang, and then they whisper your next line. And you say it, because of course you do. You've known it all along. Just like they did, the ink burns now. Not in the usual sense, not fire, not heat. More like memory seeping backward through your veins. You feel every name ever forgotten by this chapel writing itself along your bones. They don't ask permission, they require permanence. The child with the lantern teeters slightly, humming that same unbearable lullaby. No melody, just intervals between silences. The kind of sound that teaches shadows how to move. You glance down at the armor's gauntlet. The writing has changed again. You do not recall it doing so. No hand etched the new phrase, but there it is. The sermon is older than language, so what? Then is older than the sermon. You wish you hadn't wondered that. A new presence enters the nave, not from the doorway, but beneath the altar. You hear it first in the beams, where the chapel's spine cracks like knuckles being stretched. Something that was never meant to emerge this close to belief begins unfurling. A veil rises, not cloth, not mist, its absence, shaped like drapery, stitched from the negative space left by faith that went unanswered. It slithers up the wall, parting only for the stained glass saints, whose mouths now all frown. Their eyes are melting, not weeping, but rejecting their shape. The thing beneath the altar speaks, not in sound, in permission. Your next line is not yours anymore. It speaks through your chest. Your ribs do not vibrate, they glow, faintly, like relics under too much reverence. The congregation gasps, except they don't. The sound they make is inhaled. You feel it pulled from behind your ears, like your thoughts are being harvested before they can reach your tongue. The child tilts their head. A bell chimes from beneath your feet. You didn't notice it earlier, but now it tolls 13 times. Each strike deeper than the last, as if descending rather than resonating on the 13th chime. The chapel's ceiling darkens not from night, but from a presence. A massive parchment unfurls across the beams above you. It is made of skin, not leather, still living skin. It quivers as though remembering pain. Script scorches across it, line by line, burning into its surface without smoke or fire. The words glow, then dim, leaving raised scars. You cannot read them. That would imply they were written for you. They were not. The child nods. Their lantern flickers. Several of the teeth inside fall out and clatter down the nave, leaving tiny bite marks in the stone floor. The congregation begins to sing. It's not a hymn, it's a correction. They are rewriting you as you speak, and you feel yourself becoming annotation. The armor tightens ... Now, it is no longer a suit of protection. It is punctuation. You are a close in the sermon, bracketed by things you cannot name and edited by something watching through the ceiling flesh. From behind your ribs, something starts writing back. Your bones itch, then creak, then crack, not from force, but revision. You drop to your knees. The floor opens not visibly, but emotionally. Like a trust betrayed, from the earth, hands emerge. Not spectral, not metaphoric. Real hands, human, dozens of them, all right hands. Each one clutches a quill, each one begins to write across your shadow. They don't touch you, just your outline. Your silhouette begins to bleed ink. It hisses as it spreads across the flagstones, forming a larger and larger circle. You are being scribed in the absence of light, a summoning circle, no, a binding circle, not to trap what's outside. To trap you, your voice falters. The congregation falters with you, every face turns. Somewhere, someone turns a page, you feel it. The parchment above you is no longer passive. It reads you, and, without warning, corrects you one word at a time. The next sentence dies in your throat. You no longer know how it ends. The correction burns like memory turned inside out. Each syllable that should have escaped your mouth instead ricochets inward, hammering itself into your mind like scripture scrawled with nails. Your jaw remains slack, but the words come anyway, not from your tongue, which is now numb, but from somewhere lower, deeper. Perhaps beneath the lungs, somewhere that predates speech. The congregation responds as one, their song shifting into a different mode, entirely less melody, more diagram. You don't recognize the structure of what they sing, but the walls seem to. The stonework flexes, curling toward the sound as if straining to interpret its own blueprints. The hands at your feet, dozens, now write faster. Some switch from quills to knives, slashing through your shadow and redrawing it with greater precision. Your outline is becoming too detailed, too specific. It now includes the scar on your left shoulder that you've never told anyone about. It includes your dreams from last week. It includes your doubt. The parchment ceiling above shudders. It no longer merely displays words, it begins to absorb them. Each phrase written by the hands is pulled upward into the skin sheet above you, leaving behind steaming indentations on the stone. You realize the parchment is hungry, and each word is a morsel made of your memory. The child approaches again, dragging their lantern behind them. It no longer glows, it ticks. Not like a clock, more like a heartbeat that's been mechanized, turned against itself. They stop just before you. From beneath their chin, they retrieve a folded scrap of red paper. It pulses. They do not hand it to you. They press it against your chest, and you feel it sink through the armor. It burns, then cools. When the pain fades, you feel something new in your ribcage. Not foreign, missing. You've been returned a piece of yourself you didn't know was absent. And you wish it had stayed gone. The sermon resumes no longer from mouths, but from the building itself. The pews creak in rhythm. The walls whisper in a wet sibilance, and the stained glass windows hum in their molten tongues. You see images shifting in the glass scenes of ancient sermons, of bloodless sacrifices, of villages that bled their names into paper, and always, in the background, a figure in armor made entirely of other people's hands. Some hold swords, some hold books, one holds a child. The congregation turns toward you now, every head, every eye, and they smile, not kindly, not cruelly, knowingly. As if to say, welcome back. They begin to chant your name, but the version of it that existed before language. It has no syllables, only tone, and intent, and consequence. The parchment ceiling peels open, revealing a sky that should not be there, black not from absence, but from presence. Clouds roll backward. Stars hang like glass beads in blood. A second sun pulses behind the horizon, singing. From it, something begins to descend. You don't see wings, you see teeth. Not in a mouth, in a circle. And they are turning. The armor buckles, but doesn't break. Instead, it tightens once more, not constricting, but containing. The names carved into the gauntlet glow faintly now, each pulsing in time with the ticking lantern beside you. The child opens their mouth. They do not speak, they project. You see the sermon now, not hear it, but see it, unscrolling in midair in letters made of shadow stitched with ash. It unfurls toward you like a contract drafted in sorrow. The final line is blank. They want you to sign. You reach for the quill offered by one of the crawling hands. But it recoils, not yet, not until your bones remember why they were broken. A new voice enters the chapel. It is yours, but not spoken. It is remembered. From every wall, from every pew, your voice returns, echoing decisions you haven't made yet. Promises you never gave, regrets that haven't even happened. You'll return to the well, it says. You'll drink what floats. You'll forget which face was yours. The child nods. And your shadow finished the sentence for you. The ceiling reseals itself with a sigh. As if relieved, as if satiated. Above, the sky is gone again. In its place, the parchment dome flexes and twitches. Bloated with the ink of your unspeakable name, one final line is still unwritten. One final debt still unpaid, but you know it's coming. You feel the weight of its absence pressing down on your chest like a fist made of wet velvet. The child is gone, no shifted, their footprints remain, etched in scorched scripture that smolders on the floorboards. The patterns spiral inward, toward where you now kneel. You glance down and realize you are kneeling not from submission, but from necessity. Your legs no longer respond as legs. They feel translated. Rendered into language you do not yet understand, the hands retreat. They scuttle back into the naves and alcoves and crawl spaces, dragging their ink and knives and paper with them. They are not done, only waiting. The pews begin to creak again, not in rhythm. In impatience, behind you, a door opens. You didn't see a door before. There wasn't one. It's carved not from wood, but from something organic, tan skin stitched over ribbon. The handle made of a jaw still faintly mumbling forgotten verses. You stand, you shouldn't, but you do. You pass through the doorway. Beyond it lies not a room, but a causeway of memories that aren't yours. The corridor extends in every direction at once, yet only one path pulls you forward. The one paved with errors you never made but somehow remember regretting. The walls are formed of stacked folios, each bound in flesh, their spines tattooed with names you swore never to speak. One glows faintly, you touch it. The book bites you, you bleed not red, but white. Like spilled wax from the blood, a key forms. The floor beneath you tilts, realigns, and you fall forward, not down, not up, but inward. Into a chapel that doesn't exist on any map. It is older than the concept of territory. It smells like yesterday's mercy spoiled. A figure waits, the butcher. You know it's him because you don't recognize him. Your eyes slide across his shape, unable to hold his outline for more than a second at a time. His armor glistens black and bronze, etched with twitching sigils and the imprint of fingers frozen in gestures of refusal. Some of the hands still curl and flex. One offers you a book, you take it. It's your own journal, though you've never kept one. Every entry inside is dated tomorrow. Every word is crossed out, every page ends the same way. I followed the sermon down, I listened. I remembered, and now I write to forget until the parchment finds me again. The butcher moves, not walks, moves. Like shadow drawn along a blade. You step back, the journal in your hands warps. Its cover begins to whisper your voice, but hollowed and inverted, repeating a lullaby your mother never sang. 3 knocks for bone, 2 for flesh, 1 for the silence that comes after breath. The butcher stops inches from you. His helm is smooth, no faceplate. No eyes, but the mask stares anyway, and then he lifts it. There is no face beneath, only a tangle of hands, small, large, childlike, ancient, tall, writhing, mouthing prayers in different tongues. One of them signs something, its knuckles broken, its fingers blistered. You understand none of the language, yet the meaning lands like a hammer in your ribs. You've worn the armor before. You drop the book, it falls upward. You reach for the helm, you don't remember choosing to. But your hands move of their own volition, familiar with the task. It fits too well, from behind the mask of hands. Your vision triples each pane of sight, showing a different time. One where you died, one where you never entered the church, and one where the sermon never ended. You feel the armor seal around you. It weeps from the gauntlet. Fresh script burns into the skin. Begin again, and so you walk. And the pews rise to meet you, and the parchment above cracks. And the congregation kneels, some in terror, others in recognition. And the sermon begins again, not from you. From them, because now you are what they pray to. Because now you are the one who swallowed the prophet's tongue. Because now you write. You do not walk, you glide, or rather are glided, as though the armor now moves for you, not with you. Each step echoes backward in time, hurt first by your childhood self, then by the unborn memory of who you might become. The pews creak not in protest now, but reverence. The congregation no longer has faces. They've been erased by repetition. Ink floods where eyes once sat, mouths hang open, but not from shock because they've been awaiting this. Their jaws have cracked from holding the posture of awe for too many sermons. You reach the pulpit, which no longer resembles a structure. It is a gaping wound in the chapel's stone, lined with teeth that have forgotten how to bite. Still, they chatter at your approach, perhaps to warm themselves on your breath. A book awaits you atop the wound. You recognize it not as a title, but a betrayal. Its binding is stitched with sinew, its spine made from the fused vertebrae of 7 scribes who vanished mid-verse. Each page is soaked in the prophetic oil of a language forbidden even in death. It's the folio, the butcher's folio, and now it wants to be read aloud. You open it to the first page, which is entirely blank save for a single word, one that bleeds through from the next 100 pages. Begin. The choir begins humming behind you. But you never assembled a choir. You turn. It's them, the congregation of faceless watchers, mouths filled with black vellum, teeth like ivory bookmarks. Their robes twitch as if something beneath them writhes. One by one, they lift up pages torn from their own chests. Each page bears the same phrase, but written in different blood. Tell it true this time. You clear your throat. But it isn't your throat anymore, it's borrowed, rented. The resonance echoes as if from inside a well sealed with regret. You speak the first line, and the words slither free like worms from a corpse. The butcher was not the first. He was the last willing. The congregation groans in relief. The pages in their hands ignite. They burn cold. You continue. He wore the hands of his victims, yes, but only to carry their regrets where they could not walk. He carved the folio from the skins of the penitent, not to punish, but to remember. He became the sermon because no one else dared speak the words anymore. Each line stains the floor. Each stain becomes a face, and the faces watch you. Not with recognition, but expectation. You glance down and see the words forming anew on the page even as you speak them, inkless. Seared into the hide itself, you do not remember writing, but the folio does. It records all betrayals, especially those of silence. Midway through, your voice falters, not from fear, not even fatigue, but from multiplicity. You are not speaking alone anymore. You are joined by every throat that has ever uttered the black sermon, in dreams or madness. Their voices overlay yours, overlapping and receding, chanting in staggered rhythm. One truth, many lies, one death, many masks. One sermon, endless pulpits. You feel your jaw crack as your tongue unfurls longer than your mouth allows. It splits at the tip, forming the shape of the original tongue, the prophets, the one you swallowed. It speaks into voices now, one for mercy, one for doom. The chapel begins to fold inward, the pews buckle, reshaping into ladders. The ladders twist upward into the black parchment dome, which now splits down the center to reveal not sky, but the eye of the original listener. It watches and writes. Its iris is a quill that drips ink across your thoughts. You don't stop reading. You can't. The folio turns its own pages now. Each one written in advance, then forgotten, then remembered as prophecy. You are its conduit, its pen with legs, its mouth with just enough flesh to muffle the truth. A child steps forward from the crowd. Their face is your own, but not. Worse, it's the version of you that never left the chapel. They hand you a mirror. You look. You do not scream. You recite the next page of the sermon into the glass, and the reflection nods, approving not of what you are, but of what you've become, a version they can now replace. The glass cracks. You feel the fracture in your sternum. The folio slams shut. A single word bleeds out from between its pages and drips onto the stone. Continue. You cannot remember closing the book, but your hands ache from the effort. The congregation, if they were ever real, has vanished, leaving behind their robes, which still twitch with the memories of occupants long since rewritten. You step down from the pulpit, but it no longer feels like descent, more like descent's mockery. Every stair lurches as if swallowing your feet for just a moment too long. Behind you, the folio hums. It doesn't sing. That would imply mercy. It hums like a bone saw against a rib cage, like the vibration of remembered crimes echoing from the marrow. The sound gnaws at your back, tuning your spine to a frequency that only condemned scriptures can hear. A corridor awaits, previously veiled behind tattered velvet, now inexplicably parted, revealing stone archways shaped like jawbones. You duck beneath teeth, each molar etched with scripture. Their enamel glows faintly, reacting to your breath. You whisper without meaning to. I am the sermon now. Something whispers back, but only when you stop listening. This is the scriptorium below, the place no architect remembers building. Your footsteps fall on tiles shaped like open eyes, some of which blink. Others weep. One mutters your name, but it's a syllable too long, as if the version of you it's addressing was never born into flesh. The corridor narrows, then widens with malicious timing, ushering you forward with veiled urgency. At the third turn, always the third, you find a door made of stacked slates of ton. Each slab still writhes, still remembers. The handle is a hand, palm out, fingers extended in the old gesture for silence. It has no thumb. You recognize it. It was yours before the folio accepted your offering. You grasp it, and the door opens with the wet groan of a confession. Inside, darkness so thick it scrapes against your cheekbones. A single candle burns in the center of the room. Its flame is black, but its light is color, vivid hues you cannot name, only feel. Colors that correspond to sins yet uncommitted. To memories you have not yet inherited. A figure sits by the flame, writing. Not with ink, not with quill, but with the tip of their tongue. They write across the skin of their own thighs words you understand but dare not read aloud. Their eyes are sewn shut with the golden thread of silence, yet you feel their gaze pierce you. They tilt their head toward the corner. There lies a lectern. Upon it rests the index of unspoken verses, a sister volume to the folio, containing only those lines that end the reader if spoken in daylight. Its pages are lined with teeth. The figure rests not with their mouth, but with their scars. Take one, you approach, but the book opens itself. The page selected is torn, seared, half consumed. Its title reads, Verse 11, The Butcher's Vow. The rest is a map, not geographic but biographic. A chart of all who bore the folio before you. All their betrayals, all their bargains. It ends with you. No, it ends within you. A glowing mark on the page pulses with your heartbeat, and with every beat, the vow echoes. I shall wear what I have taken. I shall carve only what repents. I shall speak only what silences others. A shadow moves, you turn. The figure has stood. Their chest is hollow, ribs bent outward, cage cracked to allow the words to escape. They point to you. You feel your jaw unhinge. Not painfully, just ... obediently. The vow rises from your throat unbidden, speaking itself through your vocal cords like a puppeteer with no hands, only intent. You recite it, and the candle goes out, not extinguished, fulfilled. In the dark, you hear hundreds of footsteps approach. But none touch the floor. You are not alone. But you are the only one with flesh. They circle. You can hear their breaths brushing against your collarbone. Each exhale names a new regret. Each whisper seeds a new sermon in your lungs. You realize the folio was never meant to be read aloud. It was meant to be worn. You do not resist as they dress you in new pages. The parchment is worn, still bleeding. It binds to your shoulders, your ribs, your spine. They murmur verses as they stitch them onto you, some with thread, some with ink, some with teeth. The final stitch sears your neck, and the voice that makes it is your own. But older, deeper, more rehearsed. You open your eyes and find yourself standing at a new pulpit, another chapel, another congregation. Their faces await erasure. The folio lies open before you again, now written in your handwriting. The page reads, Begin. The page glows, softly pulses, really as if in time with the heart you sacrificed earlier, though you can't quite recall when that was. Or whose it was, it doesn't matter now. What matters is this, The sermon must begin again. Your new hand stitched from a variety of previous owners, none of them hesitant, all of them gaunt-twitch with anticipation. The folio before you smells of old parchment and new wounds. The words on the page are fresh, still wriggling. This chapel is unfamiliar, though the bones of it feel cousinly. The pews are filled with figures not yet dead, but not exactly alive. Some twitch like marionettes between performances, others simply ooze reverence. One, notably, floats its legs replaced with tongues knotted together, each whispering a version of your name that burns behind your eyes. Above you, the stained glass windows do not depict saints, they show moments, your moments. Each pane a memory that hadn't happened when last you looked. The child you never were, holding the bone spindle your grandmother buried beneath the cellar step, the friend you never made, strangled by the same sash you wore on your first day in the order. The prophet whose tongue you swallowed still screaming, still grateful. You blink, the congregation blinks with you. That is your cue. Your voice is not your own, it is an instrument now, modulated by pages grafted to your lungs, their script fusing with your trachea. Every syllable is half prayer, half threat. You begin in the time before forgetting. There were no names, only hungers given shape. In the time before shape, there were no truths, only the need to silence what screamed clearly. The air grows tight, the windows groan. The congregation begins to weep, but you cannot see their tears. You feel them collecting behind your own eyes, thickening your sight. The words pour out of you like ichor. Verses from the Book of Wounds, which you haven't read yet but have always known. Their cadence grinds bone against bone. You reach a passage that wasn't there before, a single line. The butcher shall kneel before no altar save the one carved from himself. The floor opens beneath you, but you do not fall. You descend, like an idea being exorcised. Like guilt solidifying, below, another sanctum awaits. It is circular, the walls pulse. They are made of flesh, yours, perhaps someone's, certainly. Torches line the room, but they burn inward, feeding the walls rather than lighting them. Shadows writhe, not in response to flame, but in defiance of it. A pit lies at the center, well. Of sorts, you approach, peer in. It is not deep, but it is bottomless. There, written along the stone lip of the well, is a familiar sigil etched in a looping script that blinks when stared at directly. You do not remember learning this mark. You remember forgetting it, your fingers trace it now. And the well responds, it sings, not with melody, but memory. Voices you haven't heard since your unmaking rise from its depths. They call you not by name, but by your function. You were not always the butcher. Once, long ago, you were the archivist. Longer ago, you were the ink-stained apprentice. And before even that, you were a silence. The well shows you flashes. A red quill carved from a jawbone, a scroll that grows longer every time you lie. A cathedral of teeth, its choir eternally chewing. The well asks a question you do not hear. You answer with a gesture. You step in. There is no splash, no descent, only arrival. The room you enter cannot be measured in dimensions. It exists in the pause between verses, in the stutter between your breath and your heartbeat. Books fly here not by magic, but in panic. They are trying to escape the shelf labeled Hymns to the Hollow King. One turns midair, opens. The pages scream. You shut it, too late. Something has noticed. You are not alone. A figure steps from the ink pooling at your feet, tall, emaciated, wearing your old skin like a coat turned inside out. It speaks with your voice aged, sharpened, flayed. You are not the first, you are not the last. You are merely the loudest. It offers you a gift, a knife not made of metal, but of alphabet. Each letter twists into blade-formed serifs honed to edges. The hilt is a sentence you regret saying. You accept it. Of course you do. You were born to wield regret. As you grip it, the walls hum, the folio appears again. But this time, it's inside your chest beating. Each heartbeat turns a page. Each breath inks a new entry. You look up. The shadow figure is gone. But its promise remains, scrawled in blood on the nearest wall. Every sermon requires sacrifice, and this time. They get to choose, the wall breathes, the blood-scribed words they get to choose seep deeper into its pores, as if the room itself were savoring them. You press your hand against the damp stone, and it exhales a low, rasping sound, like parchment rubbed raw. The blade in your hand still humming with letters sharp as lies tightens in your grip, not mechanically, no, emotionally. It anticipates your use, hungers for it. Above a china goes, not a bell, not quite. More like a tooth dropped into a copper bowl. One by one, the floating books above begin to fall. Each lands with a squelch or a sigh, the folio in your chest pulses. You feel its rhythm align with something else, now something external. A presence they have chosen, you turn. The congregation has returned, not the twitching puppets from the earlier chapel, no. These are real, flesh, breath, thought, regret. 30 of them, arrayed in a semicircle around your well. Each bears your face, each wears a different failure. One cradles the broken mask of the monk you silenced during the black sermon. Another wears the veil of the nun who tried to seal the folio in her own ribcage unsuccessfully. The child at the center holds no relic, only a look you once wore before the words took root in your throat. They speak in unison, but out of order. This is your congregation. You are the sermon, begin the cutting. The blade in your hand warms, it no longer hums, it hisses. The first to approach is the nun. Her steps are deliberate, ceremonial. She kneels, not in devotion, in defiance. She opens her mouth, and your own voice falls out. Do it properly this time. You do not hesitate. The blade carves nothing visible, and yet she is halved perfectly down the middle. Not in flesh, in meaning. One side forgets your name entirely. The other remembers only your scream. She falls without a sound. Her halves crawl in opposite directions. Next, the child, still clutching the look of innocence you shed like a molt. You raise the blade, but he raises a hand. Palm forward, finger out. Pointing behind you, you turn. There stands your old mentor, the man who first showed you the folio. The one who forgot to warn you about the cost. He is skeletal now, but the ruin of his voice is intact. I made you now and make me. You do not kill him. You redact him, one sweep of the blade, and his spine becomes ellipses. His eyes turn to footnotes. His mouth, a censorship bar, he collapses into citation. The other copies of you chant softly now index, margin, spine, gutter. You understand. You are editing your own myth. You are footnoting your failures. You are annotating your damnation. The child nods. You let him live, for now. The folio pulses harder. It turns a page inside your chest without your permission. You convulse. The blade clatters to the floor. The room warps. Not visually, conceptually. Words around you rearrange. Stone becomes stanza, breath becomes bracket. You are no longer in a chapel, you are inside a sentence. And the sentence is incomplete. A colon hangs in the air, dripping. It demands a clause. You must finish the thought. You reach for the blade again. But it is gone. In its place, a pen crafted from bone, its nib. A still blinking eye, the ink, your own saliva now pitch black. The air tastes like unfinished prayers. You write. And thus the butcher, having bound the echoes to flesh, wore the sermon as skin. The sentence closes, but not with a period, with a door. It forms in the air, its hinges coughing ancient rust. Its keyhole shaped like your throat. You understand what must be done. The congregation watches, one of them the version of you who once tried to drown the folio in that cursed well steps forward. Hands you a key made of regret, you swallow it. It tastes like salt and apology. It burns all the way down, you cough. The key reappears in your palm, warmed, ready. You insert it into your own chest, turn, the door opens. You step through, behind you, 30 voices whisper. The sermon never ends, it only forgets its name. The room beyond is familiar. You recognize the bloodstains. The places you practiced before your throat was rewritten. Your chair sits waiting, the one carved from kneeling pilgrims. The folio lies on the lectern, open, breathing. The page ripples with anticipation. You see the title of the next chapter. Sacrament of the Severed Chorus. It's written in your handwriting. It always was. You sit, you inhale, you begin. The breath you take is not air, it is ink. Thick, metallic, spiced faintly with rot and reverence. It coats your lungs, and for a moment, you forget how to cough. Good. The folio dislikes interruptions. The lectern recognizes you. It reshapes subtly beneath your fingers, molding itself to the weight of your guilt. The wood whispers as it bends. Each grain carries a confession. Most of them are yours. You lower your hand. The next page writes itself, a familiar voice yours, yet older, sharper, hollowed by sermon and sin narrates aloud as the words appear in blood. To call the severed chorus was to be heard by absence itself. You remember the chorus, not in detail, but in scars, each one humming still beneath your skin. Especially the one behind your ear, that little notch that twitches when someone nearby forgets your name. The congregation, still 30-faced and ever watching, leans forward, eager, hungry, or perhaps just mirroring you. You begin the incantation. Your voice trembles, but not from fear, from effort. Because every word you speak is unmoored, a syllable without tether. A sound that was erased from all tongues centuries ago and is now forced through yours like hot marrow through a keyhole. The floor responds first, a low hum, like a throat preparing to scream. Then the pews, they sway, they swell. Their wooden forms bulge outward not with rot, but birth. Splinters flake off as shapes push through from within, fingers, lips, teeth. You do not pause, the next verse is louder. Let no mouth remain unsplit, let no silence be unscreamed. The air sours, the windows blacken. Your shadow lengthens unnaturally behind you and then rises. Unmoored from your body, it steps forward, taking on detail with every word you utter. It dons your armor of hands, the armor claps. The congregation joins it, though most of them lack palms. One smacks their shoulders together, another slams their jaw shut rhythmically. The chorus has no conductor, only echo. You reach the invocation's crescendo, the words now blister your tongue. One tooth falls out, it doesn't bounce. It sinks into the floor, which accepts it like tribute. And then you speak their name, not aloud, inside. It has no vowels, only intentions. You vomit light. The chorus arrives, not as one being, but as absence manifest. The torches die, not go out die. Their flames curl inward and vanish with the soft pop of erased history. In the dark, you feel the presence, dozens, maybe hundreds. They do not breathe, they occupy breath. Their song begins. It is silence given melody. It scrapes across your mind like wind through ribs. Every member of the congregation begins to scream not in fear, but to balance the tone. You are the centerpiece, the throat of the void. The scribe of negation, you lift your hands. The fingers no longer match. Some are not yours, some are not human. One is just a loop of text spelling out repent again and again, each letter trembling with glee. You raise them to the air. You conduct, the chorus obeys. They sing a verse from the Black Psalm of Vorther, a verse previously thought apocryphal. And in the hall of splintered grace, the last god drowned in applause. You hear it, you feel it, you become it. The butcher is now a baton. The folio guides your hand like a puppeteer made of theology and fungus. The chorus shifts. Forms begin to manifest in the walls, faces. Some you recognize, some remember you. One whispers, "Why did you leave me in the well?" You turn. It is the first voice you silenced, the one who knew what the sermon would cost. He is still smiling, only now he lacks a tongue. You gave it to the prophet. A fair trade, you once thought, but now the chorus turns its eyes such as they are upon you. Their song rises. You cannot stop it. You should not stop it. You are the final verse. The page before you turns blank, but the ink bleeds up from beneath. It spells one word choice. You laugh. Dryly, cruelly, absurdly, because there are no choices left. Only consequences unspent. You lean forward. You whisper back, Amen. The page ignites, so does the room. The flames don't burn. They correct. You are not erased. You are revised. The folio closes with a breathless moan. The ink within seeps into your skin, like tattoos hungry to teach, and still, the song echoes. Outside, the bells of Harrowgrave ring hollow, each toll a throat closing. The chorus leaves behind no corpses, only listeners. You stagger backward, but the floor reclaims you. Its boards part not like wood split by rot, but pages torn from a tome with reverence. You fall between them, down, down. No air, no light, no weight, only narrative. You are sinking through forgotten paragraphs, drifting past discarded plot lines. Once vital names flit past your ears like moths on fire. You catch one, Kelthon, binder of joy. It weeps ink as it fades into obscurity. Eventually, inevitably, you land, not on earth, not on stone. On a cover, a massive, flesh-bound tome lies beneath you. Its title etched in crusted blood across its spine. The book that dreamed of being read. You sit up, your bones crack, and the sound harmonizes uncomfortably well with the laughter echoing behind your thoughts. Someone is clapping. No, not someone. Something. It has no hands, just the memory of hands still. The applause is sincere, mocking, grateful. You look up. The butcher watches you from a mirror that isn't there. His armor of hands is incomplete now. You are the last of it. You see your fingerprints on his breastplate. You left them there willingly, didn't you? You did, you will, you do. The book beneath you exhales. Its pages flutter, and one tears itself free. It floats before your face and opens wide. A new sermon writes itself. Let the choir feast not on flesh, but on recollection. Let their tongues be dipped in story, not silence. Let the final voice be the one you borrowed. You blink, the page splits into 30. Each one bears the name of someone you've forgotten, some you chose to forget, one you tore from your own memory to escape their forgiveness. The pages spiral around you, whispering their truths. She waited by the well until it sang her name. He warned you, and you gave him to the ink anyway. That laughter you claimed as your own, it was never yours. You kneel, not from reverence, from weight. The folio returns. How did it find you here? And opens in your lap. It's heavier now. Not physically, contextually, you begin to write. But the ink will not flow. It resists you. You are not permitted to author yet. You have not atoned. A new figure rises from the shadows behind you, tall, thin. Its head is stitched from sermons no one dared preach. Its fingers are bookmarks. Its eyes are margins filled with redacted screams. It is the archivist of the lost verse. Its mouth does not move, but you hear it say, "You were never the scribe. You were the footnote." And the folio is still unfinished. It gestures. The ground cracks. From the fissure rise 3 items. A dagger made from a librarian's spine. A bell that rings only when no one listens. A mirror that reflects you as someone better. You must choose, but none are keys, none are exits, all are endings. The archivist waits. You reach for the bell. Its silence roars in your ears. You ring it. Nothing changes. Or rather, everything does. The walls peel. The floor unwrites itself. The pages flee. You are in the well again. You do not recall how. Only that the water is rising, but it isn't wet. It is memory, and it drowns you differently. One name bubbles up to the surface, Thessalia. You do not know her, but she knows you. The well sings. Its lullaby is familiar, because it's your mother's voice, singing a cradle hymn that ends in a scream. The well wants you to remember. The folio agrees. Your bones itch with annotations. Your blood thickens with unresolved narrative. The black psalm of Vorther flickers into existence along the rim of the well. One stanza glows when the sermon swells and tongues fall mute. The well shall rise to correct the hymn. You look up, the stars blink in Morse code. They spell a question. Whose silence did you steal to speak? You open your mouth, but the answer's not there. It's behind you, in the shadows. Still waiting to be written, you cannot speak. The moment you try, the darkness behind your tongue contracts. Calling like a serpent denied its meal, your voice is not yours anymore. It belongs to the folio, it always did. The well shudders beneath you, and for a moment, it almost seems to breathe. Not inhale or exhale, but some awful third motion. As if respiration was merely a metaphor it had been biding time to correct. Around the rim of the stone basin, the etchings glow faintly. You run a finger along one glyph shaped like a screaming eye and it hums at your touch. The hum becomes a chant. Low growing and unmistakably yours. You hear yourself reciting things you never learned. O Vorther, ink us with absence, bind us to the gnawed spine of creation. Let the prophets forget they ever had mouths. You pull your hand back, but the well doesn't stop. It has momentum now, not water narrative is rising. Thick, syllable-laced brine that stains the world's meaning as it climbs. You can taste it. Iron, paper, and broken promises. You stumble backward, but you don't fall. Hands catch you, dozens, all gloved in flesh, all yours. The butcher is behind you, his armor complete. His fingers flex, and in their motion, you glimpse timelines where you never escaped Harrowgrave, futures where the folio is a cradle. Pasts where your mother's lullaby was composed from your own ribs. He speaks, no mouth moves. But the message is carved into your bones before you even think to resist. The well sang because they drowned. It will not stop until you do. You try to flee. But your feet have stories of their own and they are tired of endings. You turn, finally, to face him. He does not strike you. He hands you something, a key. Wrought from bone, warm, inscribed with a line you hoped had been lost to dust. The author is always complicit. It fits no lock. Not at first, then you remember the desk. That cursed desk you found in Section 7, the one with your name carved into it. The one that bled ink when you opened it, the one you abandoned. Now it's here, impossibly, waiting at the edge of the well. Patient as a sin denied, you kneel before it. The key turns, the drawer opens, and inside, folded carefully, are three things. A child's drawing of the well singing, not screaming. A page torn from the folio, inked in your handwriting. A letter addressed to the one who forgot. You read, and the letter reads back. Every word you scan is replaced with something you should have said. Apologies, names, confessions. The way you buried your brother's shadow rather than his body. The way you listened to the sermon when you should have screamed. Tears fall, the folio drinks them before they hit the ground. The butcher tilts his head. You realize too late what the armor of hands is for. It is not for protection. It is not for war. It is a garment of blame, each hand taken from those who pointed at him and said, "You did this." Each one sewn onto his flesh to muffle the accusation. And now, one of them is yours. He raises his gauntlet and beckons, and you step forward. Because the story won't end until it wears you, you place your palm against the empty slot on his chest plate. It accepts you. The moment your skin touches his, the well stops singing. The silence is unbearable, because silence is where the next voice is chosen, and the folio chooses you. Your thoughts fragment. You try to scream. Only narrative comes out, and thus the archivist was born by drowning. By deceit, by design, you hear the villagers' names whispered in the dark. Each syllable weighs more than the last, and still the well waits. The water never leaves, because it's not water. It's regret, and regret is eternal. You wake up ink-stained ... not sleeping, not dreaming waking. The parchment beneath your cheek is damp with sweat and story. The desk again. Always the desk, but it's different now. It recognizes you. You belong to it. Pages scatter across the chamber, curling like dead leaves in a fireless hearth. Each one bears a familiar hand. Yours, but also not. The script slants at angles no sane mind would choose. Half the ink is rust, the rest weeps. One page crawls toward you on its own, edges twitching like legs. It wants to be read, so you do entry 127. The well grows impatient. The butcher offered 3 tongues this morning. None were worthy. One still sang, "Your hand shakes, not from fear, from memory. You've written this before." Somewhere behind your eyes, you remember holding that tongue warm, soft, still twitching with defiance and tossing it into the well as the sermon bell tolled. The villagers had gathered in perfect rows, heads tilted back, mouths open not to scream, but to receive. They devoured the silence, and only then did the well begin to sing. You remember, and you wish you didn't, the folio crackles. It lies open now, spine broken from misuse or hunger. A fresh page unfurls before you, not blank, no, never blank, but waiting. You see your future scrawled there, quivering in letters made of bone, dust, and breath. Your fingers reach. You're not in control of them. The ink bleeds from your cuticles, etching lines before you think them. The archivist awoke to their duty, not as a reader, but as the pen. The realization lands like iron in your gut. You are not writing the folio is writing you. Somewhere nearby, the well shudders again, only this time. It laughs, low ... wet, triumphant. There is no one left in Harrowgrave to drown. But the well is still singing. It wants something more than bodies. It wants audience. From the corner of the chamber, a face emerges from shadow, pale, stitched in a grid of overlapping skin. No eyes, no mouth, only ears to many, an archivist, a predecessor. No, a warning, it gestures to the wall. Where a fresh parchment hangs nailed by bone pins, you approach, because you must. At the top, chapter 23, the listener's dead. You tear it down and read. Each sermon heard becomes an oath. Each verse forgotten becomes a sin. Speak nothing that was not first swallowed. Your throat tightens. The echo of old gospels rakes at your larynx. The black psalm of Vorther stirs again. You remember its final line, forbidden even among the chained scholars. And when the mouths are gone, the ears shall feast. You cover yours ... too late. The singing pours in through bone, through breath, through marrow. It's not a song anymore, it's summoning. A resonance felt in the tongue you no longer own. The well is calling its prophet, and your name is already in its mouth. Not carved, not spoken, soon. The page before you bursts into flame, not heat, but language on fire. The text screams itself into ash, and still, you read it. You cannot stop. You're not alone. Others join you in the chamber, now figures cloaked in folio pages, their faces erased, ink-stained fingers twitching in silent applause. Congregants, each with a verse branded to their chest, each with no tongue of their own. You are their priest now, and the sermon begins again. You stand, you recite, not from memory, from inheritance. The chamber darkens not from absence of light, but from too much meaning. Words build shadows deeper than torchlight can contend with. Your last clear thought, this isn't knowledge, it's possession, then the voice leaves you. The folio turns the page, and the next section begins. The parchment folds close with a breathless finality, but the sermon doesn't end. It never ends. You're no longer reading. You're becoming. The ink within your veins hums now a lullaby not for sleep, but submission. Every bone in your body aches to kneel, not from reverence, but from the pressure of unseen hands, pressing, molding, inscribing your very structure. The chamber stretches, the shadows lengthen like teeth, and from beyond the salt-streaked walls, the well song grows louder, no longer a melody, but a language of command. You understand none of it, and yet every syllable rearranges your spine. You are being prepared, no ceremony, no crown, only disassembly. You stagger toward the altar, the desk, but not a desk anymore. Its surface breathes. It smells like ink and meat. One drawer slides open on its own, revealing a tongue. Your tongue, still pink, still glistening. Still alive, it wriggles. You almost reach for it. Reflex, regret, ritual, but something else stops you. A whisper, not from the folio this time, but from the ceiling. You look up. There is no ceiling. Only parchment, miles of it. It flutters with lives that never wrote themselves. Blank faces pressed against the vellum like trapped insects in amber. One of them is yours. The mouth is open, whispering something backwards. Your name, perhaps, but written wrong. That's when you feel the hands again. Not your own, not flesh. They crawl from the desk one by one, 10 by 10, until the floor is littered with them. Some still wear rings. Some still carry scars. Some tap their fingers in frantic Morse. None are idle. They reach for you not to grasp, but to clothe. This is your armor, your inheritance. The butcher's folio was never a book. It was always a uniform, and tonight it fits. The hands climb you like vines with memory, stitching themselves to your body, not sewing, joining. Their touch is not cold, it's familiar. You've worn this before. The skin along your chest tightens as fingers press flat against your ribs. Each one latches on, palm first, like a child learning to hold. You scream, but only internally. The mouth no longer works. The tongue is elsewhere. That's fine. This armor does not require voice. It is voice. The well quiets. It's listening. The chorus has assembled. Hooded silhouettes line the room, faces absent but attentive. Some still weep blood through stitched eyes. Some sway to a rhythm that isn't audible yet. You raise your arms slowly, unnaturally, and the hands on your forearms move first, like puppeteers dragging their meat puppet. You point to the first congregant. It kneels. It disintegrates. No ash, no scream, just removal, like an eraser across existence. One by one, they collapse, not dead, just reabsorbed. Pages returning to the spine, ink returning to the reservoir. The folio is becoming whole again. But that leaves you, doesn't it? Last ... final page. And in that moment, you realize the deepest horror of all. You were always the conclusion. All of this was footnote to you. You step forward, hands creaking, the ones that aren't yours twitching with anticipation. They want to be written with. They want one more verse, and you. You want to oblige, because the well has grown silent now. Which means it's listening for the final word. You kneel at the altar. The parchment peels itself open again. No ink required. Only blood, your blood. One finger flexes middle, left hand, not yours, and scratches the first line. The sermon ends where the mouth began. With silence, sanctified, but there's no full stop. Because it never stops. Just you, just this. Until even the hands grow still, and the ink dries again. The stillness is a lie. Still parchment breathes. Still ink bleeds. Still you persist. Beneath the layers of borrowed flesh, beneath the armor of reverent hands, you still exist. Not as a man, or woman, or even voice. You are a binding. The final sinew holding the sermon to the skin of the world. But something within you twitches. A rebellion. A ripple of your thought, not the folios. You were meant to end in the last line. To bleed out on that altar as punctuation incarnate, yet you didn't. The desk still burns, the ink still weeps, and the folio still flips. It was never about the reading. It was always about the next page, and the page after that. You are no longer author or reader, you are medium. Your chest aches beneath the armor of clinging fingers, a small drumbeat, a pulse. Yours, or something the well left behind. The wind stirs in the archive, not air, but memory. You smell salt, smoke, the ghost of a lullaby, sun backward. You remember it now. The villagers, once drowned, were not sacrificed. They were inked, poured into the folio line by line. Their names weren't mourned. They were used. A new parchment unfurls before your ruined eyes. Despite the lids never closing, this one doesn't bear words, only images. A diagram, anatomical, sacred, you are its subject. Labeled in a language older than breath, your body becomes an atlas. Points of incision, lines of influence, runes etched along tendon and bone. Each one carries weight not symbolic, but gravitational. Knowledge doesn't inform here, it bends. The folio is a black hole, and you, poor scribe, are its event horizon. Behind you, the wall cracks not from age or neglect, but pressure. Something wishes to emerge, no, not emerge, arrive. You are its invitation. A new hand claws through the stone, this one enormous, boneless, its fingers like folded parchment. Not paper, skin, your skin, it beckons. You feel the armor react. The dozens of hands covering you pull back, stretching wide in supplication. They remember this thing. They served it once, so did you. The wall collapses entirely. From the breach spills not a creature, but a structure. A pulsing cathedral of tongues and teeth and scrolls. It does not walk, it unrolls, and with it a sound. No music, no chant, a question. Not in any known tongue, and yet it cuts through your brain like a scalpel through wet paper. It asks, you answer, with your breath, with your blood. With every memory you once called your own. This is the Black Sermon. This is what it always was, a question that creates its answer. One of the hands on your chest tightens not out of malice, but devotion. You understand the question now, and you weep ... not from fear, from clarity. The folio never needed worship, it needed recognition. And you've seen it, truly seen it. That name you carved on the desk, the one that appeared before you ever arrived, it's no longer yours, it's its. And you, child of parchment, herald of ink, prophet of the drowned ... You belong to the sermon now. Turn the page. The page turns. It turns without hands. It turns despite the air being still. It turns despite the fact you never meant to see what comes next, but it turns. And what's on the next page is nothing, no ink, no symbols. Not even blood stains or burn edges or curled glyphs scorched by pronunciation. Nothing except a reflection. Yours, except it isn't. The eyes staring back at you don't blink. They shudder. They flicker between expressions you don't remember making: mourning, laughter, terror, reverence, and something that feels like recognition, but from the wrong direction. This is not a mirror. This is a witness. You try to step back, but your body stays anchored in that stance of devout perusal, spine hunched, neck aching. Armor of fingers twitching across your ribs like nervous rosary beads. The reflection on the page moves, even as you don't. And now something else. Your mouth opens. Not yours, no, it's. And from it pours sound. It is not your voice. It's not even a voice. It is the sound of the page. Words too heavy to be heard directly. Instead, they arrive sideways, descriptions of names you'll never unlearn. The origin of hunger, the precise temperature at which divinity burns, the answer to the well's song. This is what the villagers heard before they drowned themselves. This is what the first prophet tried to cage inside his teeth. The Black Sermon was never meant to be read aloud. It was meant to be survived in silence. You are not silent. You try to scream, but the sound comes out as scripture. Your lungs translate agony into prayer. Every inhalation is a heresy. Every heartbeat a hymn. The well, far behind you now, begins to fill again. With what, you cannot tell. There is no water. Only echoes, names, yours, the villagers, the prophet. Others, some that haven't been born yet. The folio writes backwards. You realize, future into past. That's why the names whispered in bones, why the desk already bore your signature, why the butcher wore your hands before you even offered them. The book remembers forward. The reflection begins to burn, not from fire, but from knowledge too pure to be glimpsed through mortal lenses. Its eyes, your eyes fall out. They don't splatter, they turn to seals. Ancient, waxy, still wet, still smoking. They land on the page and roll upward, and there, between them, scrawled in vein ink, is a single line. You were the sermon all along. You shiver. Or rather, the thing inside you does. Because you're not entirely there anymore, are you? Bits of your body have been sighted into other narratives. Your elbow is now the corner of a ritual grimoire in the catacombs of Blind. Your fingernails, the bookmarks of a cannibal priest's biography. Your spine, a shelf, a literal shelf, housing the heretical editions of the blood scroll that never should have been spoken aloud. But your mind, your crumbling, faithful mind remains. For now, you glance again at the empty page. It is no longer blank, it shows a door. You recognize it. You saw it carved into the well's stone lip. You dreamed of it once after drinking the ink of that ancient bookmark. You painted it years ago, in your sleep, with blood. It is your door. You knock, it answers with silence. And behind that silence, footsteps, not walking, not running, climbing,